Hi, this is Attorney Mike Gravelin coming to you from Chicago as usual, and today we're going to look at Sovereign Citizens in Court number 14. This one we get a little more in depth with their actual argument, and it does have some fun surprises. Let's do it.
Well, you're here, sir. Last but not least.
Blessing, sir.
Can I have your first and last name?
Yes, I'm here by special appearance, sui juris.
Oh, here we go. I'm here by special appearance. No, you're not. You're just here because you were charged.
Kevin Latterman.
Can you spell your last name? Oh, you called my office, didn't you? Okay. So, but for the record, we didn't talk. We haven't spoken.
All right, I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm going to actually get into the substance of an argument with one of these people, and here it is. It's he really kind of lays it out. It's a little bit better than the usual, like a traffic stop or just like an arraignment where they don't have time. He gives a string of case cites which don't add up to anything. But for starters, he calls the judge ahead of time and tries to talk to him, which is an ex parte communication, and just shows right out of the chute he has no idea what he's doing.
Right, because it's not appropriate for me to do that. Okay, so this is TOW 822-54. Let's see. Okay.
May I ask one thing for the record?
I'm sorry?
May I ask one thing for the record?
Sure.
Are you on oath? Do you have a constitutional oath?
Do I have a constitutional oath? Well, yes, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of Illinois.
Excellent.
I'm a practicing attorney, so yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
So this is, all right, let me take a look here. So the underlying alleged charges are driving while license suspended, possession of cannabis less than 10 grams, speeding is not a basis for the tow, we've got no insurance, and then driving with expired license plates. So this allegedly occurred back on August the 10th of this year. So you're contesting the validity of the tow?
Yes.
Okay. So what would you like to tell me?
All right. Please let me finish. All right.
Well, as long as you're relevant to the proceedings, I'm happy to let you.
Very relevant. Very relevant, sir.
Very relevant. I love it.
Supreme Court decisions are considered the law of the land in regards to constitutionally protected rights, and they cannot be interpreted or reinterpreted as they are stare decisis, already reviewed and described as law. 1. Federal law and Supreme Court cases apply to state court cases. Howell versus Rose.
Okay, first that's the case for the proposition that the Supreme Court exists, basically. Usually if you're going to go on a constitutional diatribe, you kick it off with Marbury versus Madison, but fair enough, I'll grant the point.
496 U.S. 356, 1990. No state shall convert a liberty into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. Murdoch versus Penn, 319 U.S. 105. If the state converts a liberty into a privilege, the citizen can engage in the right with impunity. Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, 373 U.S. 262. Operation of a motor vehicle upon public streets and highways is not a mere privilege, but is a right or liberty protected by the guarantees of federal and state constitutions. Adams versus City of Pocatello, 416 P2D 46. The right to travel on the public highway is a constitutional right. Tech Lines versus Danford, Mississippi, 12 SO 2D 784 787. Anything that is a right cannot be subject to conditions or licensing. Lane versus Wilson, 307 U.S. 268 275. Every state law must conform in the first place to the Constitution of the United States and then to the subordinate constitution of the particular state. And if it infringes upon the provisions of either, it is so far void. Houston versus Moore, 18 U.S. 1, 5 LED 19. And the Constitution itself is in every sense a law. Carter versus Carter Coal Company, 298 U.S. 140, 296, 1935. No sanction can be imposed absent proof of jurisdiction. Standard versus Olson, 74, 768. With no injured party, a complaint is invalid on its face. Gibson versus Boyle, 139, Arizona 512. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highway and to transport his property thereon in the ordinary course of life and business is a common right which he has under his right to enjoy life and liberty, to acquire and possess property, and to pursue happiness and safety. It includes the right in doing so to use the ordinary and usual conveyances of the day, and under the existing modes of travel include the right to drive a horse-drawn carriage or wagon thereof, or to operate an automobile thereon for the usual and ordinary purpose of life and business. It is not a mere privilege, like the privilege of moving a house in the street, operating a business stand in the street, or transporting persons or property for hire along the street, which a city may permit or prohibit at will. Thompson versus Smith, 154, SE 579 at 583. Therefore, Federal Code Law, Title 42, Section 666, which indicates that we can't buy, sell, travel, trade, or work without a Social Security number, is seemingly in direct violation of the Supreme Court decisions which invalidate Title 42, Section 666. It is unconstitutional to require one to have a Social Security number and driver's license to travel. Criminal and statutory jurisdiction. All persons are presumed to know the law. If any person acts under any unconstitutional statute, he does so at his own peril. He must take the consequences. 16 A.M. Jur. 177, 1781. Person is not criminally responsible unless criminal intent accompanies wrongful act. Gasho versus U.S. 39F 3D 1420, 9th Circuit, 1994. If an administrative officer or agency acts outside the scope of its authority or jurisdiction, its acts are null and void. Doolin versus Carr, 125 U.S. 618. When federal officials perpetrate constitutional torts, they do so ultra vires and lose the shield of sovereign immunity. Williams versus U.S. Department of Agriculture, 815 F2D 369. Decency, security, and liberty alike demand that government officials shall be subject to the rules of conduct that are commands to the citizens. U.S. versus Olmstead, 277 U.S. 438, 1928. Remedy. The Constitution provisions that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor private property taken for public use without compensation, are intended as limitations upon the power of the government in its dealings with the citizens, and relates to that class of rights whose protection is peculiar within the province of the judicial branch of government, and that the courts are bound to give remedy for unlawful invasion of rights of property by officers of any breach of government. United States versus Lee, 106 U.S. 196, 1882. I also would like to stand on the Fifth Amendment.
Okay.
Well, this is kind of fun. I just always ran on the assumption that they were wrong because they never win, which is a fair assumption under the circumstances. There are a lot of foundational things that I don't look up on a regular basis. This doesn't come up in my practice. Nobody ever questions whether or not the state has a right to issue licenses in my practice. So I've been doing these self-sit videos, and I actually had to spend 5 minutes on the internet to find a case. And this one is right on point, and it's the most succinct. It's in a lot of those things. A lot of those Supreme Court cases that they actually cite go on to say, yeah, we recognize the states have the right to issue licenses and regulate this in their own way. So I'm just going to read this quote. It's out of the Ninth Circuit. It's a federal appellate court in California from 1999. Case is called Miller versus Reed. And the court states, the plaintiff's argument that the right to operate a motor vehicle is fundamental because of its relation to the fundamental right of interstate travel is utterly frivolous. The plaintiff is not being prevented from traveling interstate by public transportation, by common carrier, or in a motor vehicle driven by somebody with a license to drive it. What is at issue here is not the right to travel interstate, but his right to operate a motor vehicle on the public highways, and we have no hesitation in holding that this is not a fundamental right. So that's a federal appellate court case from 1999. Unless they can find some authority that overturns that, I'm done. I'm operating on that. And if you have it, send it to me. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time on this, but I don't think they do have it, or I'd be hearing it.
So by saying that, you're indicating to me you won't answer any of my questions, but you don't have to.
That is not what I'm indicating. I'm indicating that I have to be compensated for property that has been seized.
All right, so you did submit a written motion or
Yes,
brief
yes.
to the Village of Lombard.
I did.
I read that, as part of the packet here. I reviewed the police report and some various other documents.
I've got video on it also.
I'm sorry?
I've got video on it also.
Okay.
And then they did claim in the inventory report, they defamed my character by claiming that I'm a sovereign citizen.
I don't know. You're making sovereign citizen arguments, and that's sort of what a sovereign citizen is. It's not a club or anything that I'm aware of. It's a label placed on people who make sovereign citizen arguments. You're claiming that the judge doesn't have jurisdiction. You're claiming that you have an unfettered right to travel. You sound like a sovereign citizen.
Which is basically a known establishment for terrorism. So by doing that, defaming my character on that, and defaming my legal documents, which are actually Supreme Court cites. So.
Yeah, and I've examined what you provided to the village.
I do have more if you would like.
I'm sorry?
I do have more if you would like.
Okay. No, at this point, I'm very comfortable with your position.
No, I've seen enough.
Yeah, I respect that.
Thank you, sir.
So, looking at the records provided to me, it does appear that on the date of the alleged violation, you didn't have a valid driver's license. Is that correct?
In the state of Illinois, don't need a driver's license.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm showing that you didn't have a valid license. I also see that your plates were expired. Were your plates expired?
I'm on a contract with the Secretary of State in the Department of Motor Vehicle.
Okay.
So, yes, I've excluded myself from all the contracts.
Okay.
UCC 1308 without prejudice.
Okay. All right. So because what I'm seeing from the record indicates that the plates were expired, and both of those are bases for towing of the vehicle.
It's not
and
a
there's
commercial.
Possession of the cannabis.
It's not a commercial vehicle.
Okay. Thank you. Did you also have cannabis on your person?
I did.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not shocked he had cannabis on him, but I am shocked that he actually admitted it.
I appreciate your candor. I do. Speeding isn't a concern for me. Mm-hmm. So as I said earlier, I'm an attorney. I've been doing these hearings for quite a while now. I have reviewed the documents and the citations that you have referred to me. I don't find them persuasive. You do have the right to travel on the public ways, but you have to have a valid driver's license, and you have to have...
By what law?
Well, hang on. I let you talk.
Okay.
Let me talk.
Very well.
Because we're on the record here, and I want to make sure... Yeah. So, and this is my finding, and the Supreme Court's very clear on points that, that right to travel on the public roads can be conditioned on things like having a driver's license for operating a motor vehicle, having valid registration on that motor vehicle. There's a host of things, and there's plenty of case law on that point. So, well, let me finish. So, based on that and the fact that, there doesn't seem to be any issue of fact related to the validity of the license, the possession of cannabis, and the expiration of the license plates, I do unfortunately have to enter a finding of liable. The amount of the administrative fee will be that $500.
This is interesting here. We see this argument. I don't really know what this is. It's in my neck of the woods. I think they're in Lombard, which is a near suburb to Chicago, so it's not even far from my office. I don't recognize the courtroom. I've never been there. It's not my practice. I'm guessing it's sort of a city ordinance violation call, and he's a judge or an arbitrator. But he just makes a finding of liable, and I understand what it means in the sense that this guy lost is what it means. But usually, in a criminal court, you'd be making a finding of guilty. So I don't know if that was just a trial or he just sort of admitted it. But he makes his finding of liable. The guy lost his argument. And that's where we are.
I mentioned at the beginning of the hearing.
And you're going to compensate me then?
Are you going to compensate me? Yes, for not driving with a license and not having a valid registration and having cannabis on you. You get cash and prizes.
So that is not my rule.
According to the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Sir, that's my finding.
That's not a finding.
I'm not going to argue the case with you. As
Really?
I said at the beginning.
Okay. Under what jurisdiction?
As I said
Under
at the
what
beginning.
jurisdiction? You have no jurisdiction.
Okay, so
You know he has jurisdiction, or you wouldn't have been there arguing your little string of sites that you found on the internet.
if you're not going to let me finish, I'm not.
Okay, go ahead. You're right.
You do have the right to file an appeal if you disagree with my findings. You have 35 days to file that appeal in the Circuit Court of the 18th Judicial Circuit. Okay? You understand, get that right?
I do not understand.
Okay.
Grown. Don't worry, hold on, it gets a lot better here.
Well, I've explained it twice.
I am asking,
So you should,
I'm asking and demanding that you honor your oath that you have taken
thank you, sir.
and recognize the Supreme Court findings that I stated earlier.
Thank you.
That I do
So
not need a
I have
license.
that
I do not
order.
need a license to drive my personal property, which is an automobile. Do not need it. Registration for a motor vehicle on an automobile.
Thank you, sir. That is not my finding. All right, so we have that order printed up for you. You can get a copy from the service station over there.
Hold on. This right. This is not the end.
Note the record, time is now 9:57 a.m. No one else is in the audience with regards to the balance of administrative code.
Listen.
All right, Mr. Valley, there's a warrant for your arrest. Put your hands on your back and you're arrested.
I love it. They're waiting for him in the hall. As a warrant for his arrest. It's beautiful.
Okay, Sal.
Really, now I'm being accosted.
There's a warrant for your arrest. You are under arrest. Do
By
not
what
possess-
authority? You have not provided, you have not provided any documentation yet.
Yeah.
You have not provided any documentation.
We will.
This is not a resist. This is
is
no
resisting. When you're
documentation.
not
Do you have an
complying,
order
this
signed
is-
by a judge?
Yes,
Yeah.
Let's see it.
I have to be at the station.
Oh, now it's at a station. You're arresting me without paperwork.
We
Without
don't
proper
need the
paperwork.
paperwork.
Really? Okay.
We only have to provide it to you later,
Okay.
which we will.
And that's interesting, and it kind of shows what happens here. The judge just ruled against him in his little hearing there, made a finding of liable, but he was talking about a $500 fine or something. So this must be they had warrants from prior stuff, probably not driving and not showing up to court previously. It's just a guess, but I don't think the judge would have issued a warrant from the bench in the 10 seconds between ending the argument and walking into the hall.
Do you want her to take this
Yes,
stuff?
please. Yes.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys are funny.
Over this way.
You guys are slick, huh?
Not slick.
You guys are breaking the law. Acting outside. Yeah?
That truck.
No.
All right. Anything I need to do, know about Mr. Ludwig?
Any knives?
No, sir. I'm not a threat like you guys.
Later?
Yes.
You want your friend to take this?
No.
It's not gonna go with you, so it's gonna be taken off.
Can I take this?
I can actually, because you don't have anything on your person when you get arrested.
Good. All right. So refusing me on that, huh? Will you hold it then? So that way this girl over here.
He'll go with you.
$100 there and later.
Do you want her to take any of this stuff, or do you want it?
Yes, have her take that, please.
Ma'am.
Vicky,
Ma'am!
can you please take my money?
Do you want her to take this, or no?
No.
Okay, well,
She needs to view
it's
this.
gonna be put into property, so you're not gonna have.
All right, I'll have her take that. I will have her take that. Okay. 20 license plate. Get in your car.
All right, it's on.
Yes.
Smile for the camera.
Jim says you can drive his car.
Wow, well there you have it. They finally did it. They forced me to actually read something, a few cases on the right to travel. But you got a right to travel. You still have to have a driver's license to drive, and that was just a crazy video. It did kind of get me at the end. It takes a long time to get there if you survived. When they're waiting for him in the hall, I thought that was a fun surprise. And even right at the very end, when he's being carted away, I don't know whatever the woman was with him, if his wife or girlfriend or just a friend, but she takes the camera and points at him and says, "Smile for the camera." I don't know if she's mocking him. The whole thing is surreal, but he gets found liable and gets picked up on warrants. Here at Law Talk, we do a lot of videos answering common legal questions. We also do reviews of law in the movies and then on TV. We also share some of our more interesting cases. We're always putting out new videos. So if you like that, please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell.